That, Michael?
As long as they
have
don't,
the motor voter
don't
bill.
disagree.
Right.
All right. Getting back to the most important thing here, which is me, and Caldara's political axiom number one, there's nothing Republicans can't F up. We F'd it up when we did this in 1994. We came in, we were lions, we're going to change things, and Republicans are great in the minority. I mean, we are superb in the minority, and I see a lot of resemblances here to what happened under Clinton. Remember, at this point in Clinton's presidency, he was a one-termer. There was no way he was going to win re-election, this huge wave, and in fact, he became very popular. We were able to stop a lot of bad stuff. We were able to force him to sign in things like welfare reform, which he took credit for later, and that's fine by me. And then he kept going. But once we had all three members of the team in the House, the Senate, and the President, we became no better than them. In fact, as a percentage, government grew at a faster rate under George W. than it did under LBJ. I mean, it's mind-boggling. Have they learned their lesson? I'm not convinced they have. It's easy when you're in the minority to act like a Republican.
Yes.
It's not easy when you're in the majority.
Yeah, that's the perennial fear, is that once they get there, it's going to be like, we're Democrat light again, which is not acceptable and will not be acceptable to the people who elected them. So I think we have the advantage in that the Tea Party's not going anywhere. It's not going to dissolve into the DNC like Organizing for America did and become just sort of this shell of what it once was, because it's designed to be around philosophies and principles, and it will remain that way. But the energy has to stay up, and the demands have to stay on the table, I think, to get Republicans to actually tackle the federal government.
The difference is we don't have unions whose money comes in through government spending. We don't have contractors or bond dealers or all the other folks. We have people who actually work for a living and pay their taxes and then have to care for their kids. And it's hard to keep up this level of anger for another 2 years.
Yes, it is very hard. But I think that in those 2 years, they're going to have to be gearing up to be elected again and looking for the presidential race. So there are good reasons they're incentivized to listen to people. So it doesn't maybe have to be the din that it had to be for Obama. For people to respond. And I think there are some things that they can do when they get in with transparency as far as House rules and Senate rules go that would send a good message and say, hey, we really are actually doing something different.
Although Newt did the exact same thing. The Contract of America said, we're going to be more honest, we're going to have all the rules apply to us, we're going to pass all these things. And they passed most of them, particularly the internal workings. It changed nothing. It changed nothing. All right. Because we're all poll junkies, we love following the polls because it's what we do. The Gallup poll, one of the great things about Gallup is they have the same poll over and over. It's kind of like Pew. And in the 7th quarter of the president's approval ratings, right now, yes, the president is at his lowest, but he's not as low as Ronald Reagan was. In the 7th quarter, he's not as low as Bill Clinton was. And George H. Walker Bush was at the highest, at like 69% at this point. So to project out 2 years and say, he's out of here, I'm not going to fall for that one.
It's hard to speculate on what because it's going to be entirely dependent on whoever Republicans nominate that will be able to take care of some of the old lingering establishment concerns and also, really play into the Tea Party things. You asked the question about, will Republicans not do what they did after 1994? I think the evidence this year shows if they don't do it in the next 2 years, they will get primaried again really quickly. Senator Bennett in Utah, Coons versus Castle versus O'Donnell in Delaware. He was expecting the nomination. Folks are fired up. Ken Buck versus Jay Norton. Jay Norton was the establishment candidate. Ken Buck won the nomination. And if he doesn't, 6 years away, but if he doesn't do it, somebody will probably challenge him. So I think the dynamics have changed. There will be a very short leash, and whether or
you're not a witch, are you? Just
I'm not a witch.
She turned me into a newt.
She turned me into a newt.
I got better.
All right, bring it out here. What's the biggest surprise of this year? I mean, we're going to win back the House. That's going to be wonderful. Here in Colorado, Tancredo might actually save a huge mess. The downside is we're going to have a Governor Tancredo. That's going to be that'll be a story a day. What's the biggest surprise? What happens with Obama? Does he become like Bill Clinton, in which case he puts his finger in the air and goes, you know what? I'm a new Democrat and I'm going to work. Or is he truly an ideologue, which I think he is, and he's going to stick to his agenda and keep pushing? In which case, he's a one-termer.
Well, I was surprised that he was not more pragmatic, frankly, when he came into office. I thought that he was a liberal committed inside, but that he would act differently when he actually became the president and run things in such a way that would be successful. I was very wrong about that particular thing. So that was a surprise to me. I'm not sure he has the ability to pivot. I really am not. I haven't seen a lot of signs that he's able to do it. The stuff that people are labeling as sort of conceding points these days when he speaks are not really conceding points at all. They're just saying like, oh, these guys are totally going to cooperate with me later on all the things I want to do, which I don't think is
Bill Clinton
a good way to read that.
Uncanny knack for politics. I mean, it was in his blood.
Right.
He was like a chameleon. He could change depending on the group he was in front of. And I don't see Obama being able to do that.
Well, Bill Clinton felt your pain. Obama doesn't care about your pain. I really think that. I think that was the way it was exhibited in the oil issue the summer, all the oil leaking out in the Gulf. You know, the easy contrast was him playing golf versus going down to the Gulf and helping the folks down there.
Stupid question. Why is it that nobody covers that this president plays golf every weekend? George Bush played golf a couple times, and it was a media frenzy.
Because this president is Barack Obama.
Sorry, I forgot about that.
Well, and Mary Catherine, I have to agree. Barack Obama is an ideologue, and I think one of the quotes that I've sort of centered or focused on as exhibiting that is you think these Tea Parties would thank me. There's an arrogance. I think there's really an arrogance. There's a belief that he is right on the issue. Clinton was much more willing to stick the finger in the wind and say, hey, I feel your pain, I'll pivot.
It's gonna be fun. And by the way, I want to congratulate you after the ridiculous things that you said and getting fired at NPR. The new $2 million contract you received at Fox News. That was just wonderful.
Yeah, thanks. That wasn't me. Could you fire me?
I'd be happy to fire you. Juan Williams, $2 million contract. You get a raise. All right.
I was a co-star. Don't I get something?
Mary Catherine, thank you. Michael, thank you. And thank you. Listen for me late nights on 850 KOA. Check out our website at independenceinstitute.org. Tell a friend, and we'll see you next week.